such a beautiful, such a nectar that Prabhuji always gives us. And Prabhuji visited also many times in our temple, ISKCON of Central New Jersey. And we would also humbly request when everything is open up, please visit us, bless us in so many ways. Um, Thank you so much for joining us. We are so much indebted to you, Prabhuji, for joining and giving your wonderful association. And please, accept our humble obeisances. And thank you so much for joining us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I guess this is morning for you, huh?
Yes, yes.
So we welcome everybody to the Sunday morning program in Central New Jersey. The wonderful deities, but your deities are Radha Shamsundar, is it?
Radha Shamsundarji, yes, correct.
Radha Shamsundar, Gornitai, and Jagannath.
Correct.
Correct.
And Panchatattva.
So it's a great Panchatattva. Okay, it's a great honor and great pleasure for us to be here with all of you this morning. We express our sincere desire all of you are safe and sound. We heard the unfortunate news that Krishna Namananda is positive.
Yes.
So we request all the devotees to kindly pray for him. So there's a small change. I don't think anybody will mind, but I had given the topic, Lord Chaitanya travels in Vrindavan. And I saw the poster says to Vrindavan, but I don't think anybody will be disappointed that we're going to do Lord Chaitanya travels in Vrindavan. Since we're just 1 week away. Next Sunday is Gaur Purnima, the appearance of our dear Lord Chaitanya, the golden Prem avatar of Kali Yuga. So we're going to talk about Lord Chaitanya traveling in Vrindavan. So to begin, since we're talking about Lord Chaitanya, we have a very beautiful song that my very dear godbrother Bhakti Chiru Maharaj always used to sing. So everybody I think knows Sundara Lala, Sachi Dulala. If you can find it on your devices if you want to follow along. Sundara Lala, Sachi Dulala, Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Sundara Lala, Sachi Dulala, Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Balle Chandana Tilaka Manohara, Alaka Shobhe Kapolana Me. Balle Chandana Tilaka Manohara, Alaka Shobhe Kapolana Me. Sundara Lala Sachi Dulala, Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Sundara Lala Sachi Dulala, Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Sire Chuda Darashani Rale, Vanapula Mala Hiya Pardole. Sire Chuda Darashani Rale, Vanapula Mala Hiya Pardole. Pairna Pita Patambada Shobe, Nupura Runu Junu Charanana Me. Pairna Pita Patambada Shobe, Nupura Runu Junu Charanana Me. Bolo Sundara Lala Sachi Lala, Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Sundara Lala Sachi Lala, Nachata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Radha Krishna Ekatanu Hai, Nirvana Maje Bansi Bajave. Radha Krishna Ekatanu Hai, Nirvana Maje Bansi Bajave. Vishwarupa Ki Prabhu Ji Sahi, Avata Prakatai Nadiya Me. Vishwarupa Ki Prabhu Ji Sahi, avata prakatahi nariyame, Kola sundara lala sati lala, nachata Sri Hari Kirtana me, sundara lala sati lala, nachata Sri Hari Kirtana me, koi gavat hai Radha Krishna naam, koi gavat hai Hari Gunagan, koi gavat hai Radha Krishna naam, koi gavat hai Hari Gunagan, mridanga thala madhura rasala, bajata hai koi rangana mein, mridanga thala madhura rasala, bajata hai koi rangana mein, bolo sundara lala sachidu lala, nachata Sri Hari Kirtana mein, sundara lala sachidu lala, nachata Sri Hari Kirtana mein, bolo nachata Sri Hari Kirtana mein, nachata Sri Hari Kirtana mein. Bolo Sri Sachinandana Gaura Hari
Bol.
Haribo,
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribo, Haribo.
Hari Bol.
So Sundara Lala Sachi Dulala Nachata Sri Hari Kirtan Mein. That very beautiful little boy of Mother Sachi was always dancing in Sri Hari Kirtan, because in this dark age of Kali, this is the recommended process, chanting very loudly and very enthusiastically. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, it's a great honor and a great pleasure to be here with all the devotees from CNJ and anybody else who happens to tune in to this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And we hope you're all safe and increasing your Krishna consciousness. So today we're going to hear about Lord Chaitanya traveling in Vrindavan. So Lord Chaitanya, he traveled along with one Brahmin companion named Balabhadra Bhattacharya. And he walked all the way from Puri to Vrindavan. They arrived in Mathura, and just seeing the city of Mathura, Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy, he fell on the ground in ecstasy and paid his obeisances. Then he went to Visram Ghat and took his bath in Visram Ghat. Visram Ghat is one of the main ghats in Mathura, where Krishna rested after killing Kamsa. Then he came and he took his bath, and then he rested at that place. Not only Krishna rested there, but millions of years ago, Lord Brahadev, when he lifted up the entire planet and killed off Hiranyaksha, then he also came to Mathura, took his bath, and rested at Vishram Ghat. Then he went to the temple of Keshavdev, and he began to dance and chant in front of the deity of Keshavji. And all the people were astounded. People came running to the temple. They heard this ecstatic praying kirtan going on. And everyone was astounded. They thought this person is Sakshat Brajendranandan Shamsundar, but he's in golden complexion. One Sanodiya Brahmin came. He saw Mahaprabhu chanting and dancing in ecstatic love. He also began chanting and dancing in ecstatic love. And both of them saw each other in Krishna Prem, and Mahaprabhu embraced him, and they danced and chanted ecstatically. After the kirtan, Mahaprabhu took that Brahmin to a secluded place and began to inquire from him about his identity. And he explained that actually, I'm a Brahmin from Mathura, but I could see from your dancing and chanting and ecstatic love for Krishna that you must have some connection with Madhavendra Puri. Because only if anybody has connection with Madhavendra Puri does he exhibit such ecstatic love. Actually, Madhavendra Puri came here to Mathura, and he stayed in my house, and he accepted food in my house, and he initiated me. Hearing that this was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, Mahaprabhu immediately fell on the ground and paid obeisances to his lotus feet. The Brahmin was shocked and very afraid. So he fell on the ground and tried to pay obeisances to Mahaprabhu. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya explained the connection. Because Mahaprabhu was saying that, no, you're on the platform of my guru. So I'm offering obeisance to you. You should not have offered obeisance to me. You're on the platform of my guru. And then Balabhadra explained its connection. And Mahaprabhu also said, I could understand that you must have some connection with Madhavendra Puri. So they went back to Mathura. He stayed at that Brahmin's house for the night, and they discussed Krishna Katha. In the morning, he asked Balabhadra Bhattacharya to cook for the Lord. And the Lord smiled. He said, Madhavendra Puri, my Param Guru Dev, came here and accepted food from your house. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that generally sannyasis, from the Sanodiya Brahmin means it's a lower class of Brahmin, and generally sannyasis do not accept meals in their houses. But Madhavendra Puri, he set the example. And Mahaprabhu explained that there may be so many injunctions in the scriptures and nobody can agree on one thing or another. But he quoted one verse famous verse that Prabhupada was always citing from Mahabharata, Mahajano Jenu Katha Sapanta, that we follow the path chalked out by the great Mahajans. So Madhavendra Puri, seeing you as a Vaishnava, not seeing you as and according to the caste and creed, but saw you as a Vaishnava, then I will also take prasad in your house. In this way, he took prasad in that Brahmin's house. And then later, they went to visit Dirgha Vishnu and Gokarna, Krishna Ganga, so many places on the banks of the Jamuna River there. And they bathed. There's 12 ghats on the north side, and there's 12 ghats on the south side. So they, along with Visram Ghat, they bathed in all the 12 ghats of Mathura. And Mahaprabhu spent some time in that Brahmin's house. Then he expressed his desire to go on Prikrama. So that Brahmin, he decided he would also accompany Mahaprabhu. And from Mathura, first they went to Madhuvan, where Dhruva Maharaj performed his pastimes, did his austerities and realized the Lord within 5 months. Also Ambarish Maharaj performed his penance, his Kartik Vrat, his Ekadasi Vrat there, from one Kartik to another Kartik. Shatrughan also has some pastime there, where he killed Lavanasura. Krishna used to do Ras there, Madhuvaname, Rasa Rachaya, we sing sometimes. And Krishna and Balaram, the cowherd boys, would swim there in Krishna Kund. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so all 4 yugas, this Madhuvan is famous place. Then from Madhuvan, they went to Talavan, where Lord Balaram killed Dhenukasura. From Talavan, they went to Kamudvan. From Kamudvan, they came to Bahulavan. And in Bahulavan, Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a very elaborate description of Mahaprabhu traveling through the forest. And he was seeing all the animals, and all the cows came to see him and recognizing him as their old friend. They came and sniffed his body and began to lick. And Mahaprabhu went into ecstasy, seeing the cows, remembering his Gopal. He began to embrace the necks of the cows and caress them. And the cows wouldn't leave Mahaprabhu. The cowherd boys there, they had great hard time turning the cows back, keeping them away from Mahaprabhu and taking them with them. Then Mahaprabhu, hearing his sweet singing as he was walking along the path, all the deers came, the does and bucks together, and they did not show any fear whatsoever of Mahaprabhu's presence. Ordinarily, deers, as soon as they see a human, they go darting off into the woods. But they immediately came, they also began to lick the body of the Lord, and the Lord began to pat them, and they followed him along the path. And it's described that all the trees were crying by drips of honey, and they bow down to the ground with fruits to offer them to the Lord. In this way, Mahaprabhu is, it doesn't specifically mention Bahulavan, but from the context, I've understood that this pastime must have happened in Bahulavan. And all living entities, Mahaprabhu, moving and non-moving, he told them all to chant Hare Krishna. And every living entity in the forest began to chant the holy name of the Lord and went into great ecstasy. From there, Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, he started headed toward Govardhan. He was going on Prikrama, just like you. Except he didn't go by AC car and bus like you guys. He went by his feet with his arms raised in the air, chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As they approached to Govardhan, one village came, and Balabhadra Bhattacharya, he asked one villager, what is the name of this village? And the villager told him, this is Aritagram. As soon as the sound of Aritagram entered Mahaprabhu's ears, he immediately came to his external consciousness, because he was chanting, completely lost in ecstasy. And then he began to ask all the villagers, where is Radhakund? Now, why hearing the sound of Aritagram did Mahaprabhu think of Radhakund? Because the original name of this place was Aristagram, named after Aristasura. Because Krishna killed that Aristasura there, and then to do penance, he created Radhakund and the gopis, he created Shamakund, and the gopis created Radhakund. So therefore, remembering that pastime of the Lord, he asked all the villagers, where's Radhakund? But nobody could tell him. They were lost to the eyes of the world. But we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Virjindanandana De Sati Sutta Hoilose. He's the self-same Virjindanandan Shamsundar. He sat under a tamal tree. There's a beautiful place by Shamakund called Tamal Tala. Unfortunately, that tamal tree is no longer there. But Mahaprabhu sat under that tamal tree, and being the self-same Virjindanandan Shamsundar, he saw that there was two paddy fields there, rice paddy fields. One was called Kali, and one was called Gauri. So he could understand this was none other than Kali was Shamakund, and Gauri, of course, was Radhakund. So Mahaprabhu went down, and all the villagers were astonished to see him taking bath in the middle of the paddy field. And he bathed in what was left of Radhakund, and he chanted very, very many beautiful prayers. In fact, you can go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, in that, I believe this is probably either 17 or 18, one of those two chapters about Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan. And whichever language you have, you can learn those prayers, very beautiful prayers. Sabha gopi haite radha krishna ra prayasi, taiche radha kunda priya priya rasarasi. Sabha gopi haite, of all the gopis, Radha Krishna ra prayasi. Radharani is most dear to Krishna. Taiche radha kunda priya priya rasarasi. In the same way, this pond, Sarasi, this is just as dear to Krishna as Radharani. From Padma Puran. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnos Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnu Ratyanta Vallabha. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnos. Just as Radha is very dear to Vishnu or Krishna, Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata, this kund known as Radha Kund is just as dear to Krishna as Radha. Sarva Gopishu Saivaika. Sarva we know means all. Of all the gopis, Saivaika, ek. There's one, Vishnu Atyanta Balaba. When we want to go to the extreme, then we use the word Atyant, mostest belovedest of Krishna. Ek, this very beautiful one. Ek Kunenit Krishna Radhika Rasange Jale jala keri kori tire ras range. If you know Hindi, you can pick out the Bengali from this. Even if you don't, just by hearing few words from Prabhupada's books, you can understand. Ek kunde nitya Krishna, always Krishna. Radhikara Sange, in the association of Radharani. Ek kunde nitya Krishna, Radhikara Sange. Jale, just like here in Vrindavan, we say pani, but you go to Bengal, then they say jal. And jale means in the jal. Jale, jala keli kore tire rasarangi, in the jal, in the water. Jala keli, they did water pastimes. And tira, we sing every day. Jamuna tira, tira means the bank. Tire rasarangi, they were doing ras. Ek kunda se ek bara kore snan, tana radha sama prema Krishna kore dan. Ek kunde nitya se kunde ek bara kore snan. If somebody one time takes his bath, we know like snan yatra, ek time kore snan. One time takes his bath, tana radha sama prema Krishna kore dana. Krishna gives charity. When you go to Radhakund, all the Brahmins will come to take charity from you. But Krishna is giving charity. What is that charity? Radha Sama Prema. We know the word Sam. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. I am equal to everyone. That praying, equal to Radharani's praying, Krishna gives in charity. Everyone else is coming. When you come to Radhakund, they want to take charity. Krishna is giving charity. What charity? That praying equal to Radharani's praying. Kundara Madhuri Yena Radhara Madhurima. Kundara Mahima Yena Radhara Mahima. The sweetness of this kund is just as sweet as the Madhurima, the sweetness of Srimati Radharani. And Kundara Mahima, the glories of this kund is just as glorious as Srimati Radharani. So chanting all of these beautiful prayers, Mahaprabhu took his bath in Radhakund. Then he marked his body with the tilak of Radhakund mud, and he had Balabhadra collect some to take with them on their journey. So from Radhakund, he came to Suman Sarovar. Chaitanya Charitamrita says Suman Sarovar. We know it now today as Kusum Sarovar. And there it says he got darshan of Govardhan Hill. Now, many of you have been to Kusum Sarovar. Do we see Govardhan there? We don't see. We know the story, how Govardhan is sinking into the ground. So even in 500 years, he sank so much that we no longer see him. It's past Kusum Sarovar that we see Govardhan. But Mahaprabhu saw Govardhan and he went into ecstasy and immediately embraced a stone of Govardhan, it's described. From Suman Sarovar, he came to Govardhan town. And there he took bath in Manasi Ganga. This is a very beautiful kund created directly from Krishna's meditation. Manasa means the mind. By Krishna's meditating, the cowherd boys were upset because Krishna killed a calf, Vatsasura. So Krishna, how can I get free? He said, you'll have to take bath in Ganga. Oh, Ganga is very far away. I will bring Ganga here. Krishna created Ganga, Manasi Ganga, 10,000 times more powerful than that ordinary Ganga. Then he went to the temple of Haridev. Haridev is the incarnation of Lord Narayan, who stays on the western petal of Braj. And Mahaprabhu began to dance in ecstasy. And again, all the people surrounding the temple came to see. And they were astounded. And they began to think, this is the same Brajendanandan Shyam Sundar, except he's golden in complexion instead of blackish. And instead of a flute, he's got a sannyas danda. And the pujaris, they received Mahaprabhu very nicely. Then they spent the night in Haridev temple. And next morning at Brahmakund, Ballava Bhatta Charja, he cooked for Mahaprabhu there, and they spent some days at Manasi Ganga in Haridev temple. That time, someone came from Anior, and they told that the Gopal Didi has left Anyor and gone to Gantoligram. Because when Mahaprabhu was discussing with that Brahmin and telling about his connection with Madhavendra Puri, he told that Madhavendra Puri, he discovered Gopal in Govardhan and established his worship. And even today, the worship is going on. Now, Mahaprabhu, he never stood on the hill. He never walked on Govardhan Hill because he considered Govardhan not different from Krishna. So following Mahaprabhu, we never walk on Govardhan Hill. You should be very careful when you go there. And you go on the inside Prikrama path. You don't go too close. But someone told the Pujari that the Turkish soldiers are coming. Take your Didi and flee. So they took the Didi and they ran out to a village in Rajasthan called Gantoligram. So Mahaprabhu heard this news and he was very happy. So then he said, when I get to the other side of the hill, then I'll go there to that place and take darshan of Gopal. So then he continued on his prikrama to Govindakund. At Govindakund, this is where the Lord Indra and all the demigods bathed Krishna, and the bathing water formed this beautiful kund, Govindakund. Mahaprabhu bathed. It's one of the most beautiful kunds in Braj. He bathed there. And actually we forgot one thing, from Manasi Ganga, he began his prikrama, and he had a beautiful prikrama mantra that's also you can find not only in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but this is also in Venu Geet in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the prikrama mantra of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll teach you right now. Antaya Madri Abala Haridasa Bharjo Yad Rama Krishna Charanam Sparasham Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayotayor Yat Pani Yasu Yavasa Kanda Kanda Mulai. In Sanskrit, Hanta means oh, are. Antayam Adri. Adri means hill. Antayam Adri Abala. Actually, this verse in Venu Geet is spoken by the gopis. So legend has it that the women are the weaker sex. Somehow they always manage to get their way, but they're considered to be the weaker sex. So he says, Abala. The girls are speaking amongst themselves. They Abala, oh girls. Not Bal like Balaram. Abala, oh girls. This hill, Hadidasa Varjo, he's the most bestest devotee of Krishna. Even the gopis are telling. Haridasa Bharjo. There's many Haridasas, just like Yudhishthira Maharaj is considered to be Haridas. Uddhav is also known as Haridas, famous as Haridas. But Govardhan, Haridasa Bharjo, he's the most best devotee of Krishna. Yad Rama Krishna Charanam Sparasham Pramoda. In Braj, when we say Ram and Krishna, we're talking about Krishna and Balaram. Yad Rama Krishna Charan, we know Charan, feet. Sparsham, we know this word sparsh from Bhagavad Gita. Touch. Matra sparshas tu kondeya. Yad Rama Krishna Charanam Sparsham Pramoda. I'm sure many of you have a good friend named Pramod. So Pramod means joyful. So all day long, Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys are running on top of the hill. So he's getting the charan sparsh, the touch of the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Therefore, he's joyful. The next verse describes another reason why he's joyful. It's very important. Manam tanoti sahago ganayos tayoryat. Just like we know, amanina, manana. Mana means to give service or to give respect. So Govardhan, manam tanoti sahago, he's giving respect to the cows. Manam tanoti sahago ganayos, the Gopagan, the cowherd boys, the Vaishnavas, the devotees. Tayoryat, the last, those two, Krishna and Balaram. Last comes Krishna and Balaram. He's serving cows, Vaishnavas, and then the Lord. And that makes him very, very joyful. He's serving, this is a secret. If you want to advance in Krishna consciousness, you serve Vaishnavas. Manam tanoti sahago ganayos teoryat. Those two, Krishna and Balaram. How he's serving? Paniya. Pani we know means water. This is the first word that our Western devotees learn when they come to Vrindavan. Pani, Prabhu, where's Pani? Paniya. And Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur explains not just water, but madhu. Honey is dripping from the trees on Govardhan Hill. And Pani is, and amras, mango juice, and piluras. Pilu is a very special fruit in Braj. It's Krishna's one of Krishna's favorites. So pilu juice. And so many beautiful streams are there. The present with our material eyes, we're unable to see those streams, but so many streams of crystal clear water and pools of water are there on the side of Govardhan Hill. Pani is suyavasa. Suyavasa means fresh grass, nice juicy grass for the cows, and this durba grass that we use in the puja. Both are being supplied by Govardhan. Pani is suyavasa, kandara, and caves are there. Just like down at the end of Govardhan Hill, many of you may have seen Raghava Pandit's cave. There's many caves on Govardhan. We can't see most of them by our material eyes, except for that one, Mani Kandali cave, Raghava Pandit's cave. It's too hot, it's too cool, there's too much rain. And then the cowherd boys and Krishna can go in the caves. Many, many intimate pastimes happen with Radha and Krishna. Those caves. That's why Govardhan is the most best devotee, seeing all the intimate pastimes of Krishna. Kandara means cave. And Kanda Mulai. Kanda means fruits and roots. Just like when you come in Kartik, all the pushkarts are having muli, this white radish. So mul means root. So Kanda Mulai, fruits and roots. Because cowherd boys and Krishna, they're hungry 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. So he's supplying fruits and nice roots. So this is the Prikama mantra of Sriman Mahaprabhu. Hantaya madriya bala haridasa bharjo yad Rama Krishna charanam sparasham pramoda manam tanoti sahago ganayotayor yat Tapani Yasuyavasa Kanda Mulai. Then Mahaprabhu went to Gantoli Gram. And there he saw Gopal to his full satisfaction. Gopal was hidden in one Brahmin's house. And Mahaprabhu came there. And as soon as he saw the Lord, so beautiful form of the Lord, he spoke a very beautiful verse. The translation of this verse, I was always seeing in Nectar Devotion. But here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have the actual Sanskrit. This comes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Krishna says, Bhama tamara sakshasya bhuja danda sapattuva krida kandukadam jena nito govardhano giri. Bhama we know means left. Bhama tamara sakshasya. Tamara is another name for lotus. This is Sanskrit. Aksha we know means eyes. That beautiful lotus-eyed Krishna, Ujadanda, his arm, his Bhama, his left arm. Krida kandukatam, just like a play toy. Nito govardhano giri. He held that hill on top of his left arm, just like a play toy. Krida kandukatam. Bhujadanda sapattuva, may that left arm of that lotus-eyed Lord Sri Krishna that lifted Govardhan Hill like a play toy always bless and protect you. I used to see this verse in Nectar Devotion, the translation, but here is the Sanskrit. Bhamas tamara sakshasya bhujadanda sapattuva krida kandukatam jena nito govardhano giri. So he stayed there relishing the association of Gopal for several days in total ecstasy. Then the news came that it was just a trick. that Krishna wanted to see his devotee, Lord Chaitanya. So he played this trick. No soldiers came. So they decided to take Gopal back. And Mahaprabhu danced all the way back to Anior. But when the Lord went up on top of the hill to the temple, the Lord did not follow. From there, he headed toward Kamivan, the forest that fulfills all desires. From Kamivan, the Lord came to Nandiswar Hill, Nandagram. And he was chanting all along the way with Balabhadra Bhattacharya. When they came to Nandagam, he asked some villagers, are there any deities here? And the villagers, they told him that on top of this hill, there's a cave. Inside this cave, there's a very tall man, father. And next to him, a little dainty mother. And in between, Tribhanga Sundara, a threefold bending form, this Gwal, this cowherd boy. So Mahaprabhu, he climbed the hill and he went inside that cave. He saw a big, tall Nanda Baba with a big yellow turban on his head, pagri. And he saw little dainty Mother Yasoda with her sari pulled over her head. And in between, Tribhanga Sundara, this beautiful Gopal. He paid his obeisance to Nanda and Baba, and he began to caress the body of Gopal. Maybe you've seen this picture in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, I posed for that picture. That was my one tiny service in the great Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon. Recently on the internet, on Facebook, they showed this, or on YouTube, I guess. They talked, Brahmaswar and others talked about this incredible, miraculous Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon. I was just walking down the street and Jadharani grabbed me and said, come. I was temple president of Portland, Oregon. And I posed for many pictures so that the artist could paint fast. So that was my tiny service. So Mahaprabhu was caressing the body of Gopal. Then he went down and took his bath in Pavan Sarovar. This is a beautiful place where even Tirtharaj Prayag comes to take his bath on Akshay Tritiya Day. Akshay Tritiya Day, will see thousands of people come to take bath in Pavan Sarovar. And because Nanda Baba saw that even Tirtharaj came here to take his bath, he thought, why I should go all the way to Prayag to take bath? I'll take bath in Pavan Sarovar, even Tirtharaj. So we don't go to Kumbh Mela, just like here in Vrindavan. Kumbh Mela is going on. Now, you may not know that, but several hundred years ago, there was a big fight between the Shivites and the Vaishnavas, and many Vaishnavas were killed. So they decided to have a Vaishnava Mela in Vrindavan 1 month before the major Kumbh Mela in Hardwar. So there's Kumbh Mela going on right now. And every day we're going with the Kirtan party and chanting through the whole Mela area. Because we don't have to go to take bath. We go there to bathe everyone with the nectar of the holy name. This is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 536 years ago in 1 week. It will be 536 years. So we're going through the Kumbh Kshetra, that's chanting Harinam. So we don't go to Kumbh to take bath because we can take bath in Pavan Sarovar. So Mahaprabhu bathed in Pavan Sarovar. And then he went from there, he went to Sheshai. In Sheshai, there's a huge deity of Garbhoshakshai Vishnu lying on Ananta Shesh. And from his navel, this Kamal is coming in, Lord Brahma is there, and Lakshmi Ji is there massaging his feet. When Mahaprabhu saw this huge deity, this enormous deity, then he began to recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam about how the gopis, they're thinking that Krishna's feet are so soft that they're afraid even if they put their breasts on them, it may hurt. What to speak that they're in anxiety all day long, that so many pebbles and stones are there on the path. And Lakshmi is there massaging those lotus feet. Mahaprabhu took his bath there in the Sarovar, Shir Sagar. Then he traveled to Kela Tirth. Kel, we know, means play, sports. There Krishna and Balaram sported. From Kela Tirth, then he went to Bandirvan, one other forest is there. And he went to Bandirvan and saw all these holy places. Then he crossed the Jamuna and came to Bhadravan, where Krishna killed the which Asura was there? Vatsasura was killed there in Bhadravan. From Bhadravan, he came to Lohavan, because now we're on the opposite side of the river from Vrindavan. Lohavan, Mahaprabhu saw where Krishna killed Loha Jangasura. That's how it got its name. And I never found, even the villagers don't know any story about Loha Jangasura. They just know that Krishna killed him there. So this is Lohavan. Then finally we come to Gokul Mahavan. Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy in Mahavan. And he bathed in Brahmanda Ghat and all the ghats there. Then he came to Ukal Bandhan. He was in supreme ecstasy when he saw the place where Krishna knocked over the Arjun trees and performed the Damodar Lila. And he spent some time in great ecstasy in Gokul, remembering all his pastimes there. And Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't mention it, but in Bhakti Ratnakar, it says from Gokul, he came to Rava, the birthplace of Srimati Radharani. And Bhakti Ratnakar says that it's impossible to describe the ecstasy that Mahaprabhu felt in this place, because we know Mahaprabhu has come in the mood of Srimati Radharani. He stayed 3 days there in Raval, and then they returned with Sanodiya Brahman and Balabhadra to Mathura. In Mathura, when he got to the Brahman's house, the news about Mahaprabhu had spread and everyone came to see him. It says hundreds and thousands of people. Mahaprabhu came out, raised his hands in the air and said, Hari Bol, and all the people began to chant, Hari, 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 Hari. So there was too much commotion in Mathura, so Mahaprabhu left Mathura and he came to the forest of Vrindavan. He specifically came to a very peaceful place called Akrurghat. In the morning, he went to the bank of the river in Vrindavan, and he saw Keshi Ghat. He took his bath at Shirghat. Then he came to Imlitala. On his way to Kaliyaghat, he stopped in Imlitala. And there he saw a beautiful Imli tree. Prabhupada said that tree is from Krishna's time. But before my eyes, since I've been here in Vrindavan, I watched that tree dry up. But new tree is growing there at Imlitala. And then in the afternoon, Mahaprabhu returned to Akrur Tirth and took his meal. The next day again went to stay at to chant, because it was Akrur Tirth and all the people were coming who lived around Akrur Tirth and creating some problem. So Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan to get some peace and quiet. Now we go to Akrurghat to get peace and quiet. Vrindavan, you can't believe it's Sunday with the rushes outside, the beeping and honking and everything. You go to Akrur Tirth, you can see a forest, you can see Nilgai, very peaceful place. But Mahaprabhu left there, came to just imagine 500 years ago how beautiful Vrindavan was. Then he went to again back to Imli Tala, and sitting under that Imli tree, because underneath that tree, Krishna had hidden from the gopis. And when Radharani and the gopis found him, he was chanting Radhe, 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 Radhe. And his whole body had turned gold in complexion. And Radharani was astounded because her ecstatic love was just by seeing this golden personality, ecstatic love arose within her heart, just like for Krishna. Then she realized this is her Shyam Sundar. And Lord told her that yes, in Kali Yuga, I will take the form and bhav and of Radharani in order to experience your love. And Radharani was so astounded. But when Mahaprabhu went there, he sat under that Imli tree and chanting Krishna, 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 Krishna. His whole body turned black. Meanwhile, from the other side of the river, one fellow came and he bathed at Kesi Ghat, and then he headed to Kaliya Ghat, but on the way he saw this marvelous personality sitting under the tree at Imli Tala. So he came and he fell down at the feet of Mahaprabhu and told that I want to become the servant of a Vaishnava. And Mahaprabhu asked him who he was. He says, I'm Rajput Krishnadas. He was a Kshatriya, Rajput Krishnadas. And last night I got a dream, and according to that dream, I came to this place. And seeing you, you appear to be Sakshat Brajendanandan Sham Sundar. So I want to become your servant. So he left all hearth and home and stayed with Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu took him back to Akrura Tirth, and Lord took his meal, and Krishnadas took his remnants. And after that, Krishnadas every day, he would carry the Lord's water pot. They go to Vrindavan, and they would stay at, they would take bath at Keshi Ghat, they visit Kaliya Ghat, they would go to below Madan Mohan, there's a place called Praskandana, where beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna took place there. On top of that is Dwadasha Ditya, the hill where the temple of Madan Mohan is now resting. Dwadash, you can figure out, means 12. Aditya is another name for the sun, because we mentioned a couple of times Kaliya. So Kaliya Ghat, Krishna was kept in the water for 2 hours wrapped in the coils of Kaliya. It was very cold and he was very cold. So then the Brishbasis brought him on top of that hill. Tila means hill. And 12 suns appeared in the sky to dry him up and warm him up. So from Dwadasa to Tila, they again went to Imli Tala and stayed there, and then returned to Akrura Ghat. And Rajput Krishnadas came every day to assist Mahaprabhu carrying his water pot and different things. And Balabhadra would be cooking. So meanwhile, Balabhadra, every day people were coming from Mathura and asking to give invitations for feeding Mahaprabhu. And about 10, 12 people would come, but he could only accept one every day. Like this, they would come there and they would cook, they'd offer to the Shalagram Shila, and then feed Mahaprabhu. In this way, it was becoming very crowded there, also at Akrura Ghat. One day, whole bunch of people came to Akrura Ghat and made a big noise and tumult. And Mahaprabhu came outside and he said, what is the thing? And the people said, Krishna has again returned to Vrindavan. And everyone's directly seeing Krishna. And Mahaprabhu laughed and said, yes, what you say is true. And where are you seeing? He said, where are you? First he said, where are you seeing? So every day Krishna is coming to Kaliya Ghat and dancing on Kaliya, and people are seeing it every night. And Mahaprabhu laughed and said, yes, people are seeing Krishna. So for 3 days continuous, this big tumult would come. Every day the people would come and report that Krishna has again returned, and Mahaprabhu would laugh. Then Balabhadra said, let me go tomorrow night. And Mahaprabhu slapped him on the face and said, you consider yourself a big scholar, but you become a fool listening to this foolish people. You just stay right here. You will see Krishna tomorrow. So the next day, some respectable citizens came. And Mahaprabhu said, what is the news? They said, people are seeing Krishna again in Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu said, how is that? He said, there's a fisherman who goes in the boat near Kaliya Ghat and he catches fish with a torch in the night. The people are seeing the boat as a Kaliya serpent, the torch as the jewels on his head, and they're thinking that fisherman is Krishna. So in this way, foolish people are thinking that they're seeing Krishna. The Balabhadra was shocked. But actually it's true that Krishna has returned. And Mahaprabhu said, how was that? He said, because you were a sannyasi, so you're removing Narayan. Mahaprabhu immediately covered his ears. Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. Never call the ordinary living entity the Lord. In no circumstances can the living entity become the Lord. This is totally bogus philosophy. You will be punished by Yamaraj for even thinking such a thing. The Lord is omnipotent at all times. No question of his becoming God. He's God at all times. Just like now in Vrindavan, we're studying Putana Lila. Krishna was just a few days old and Putana was 12 miles long, huge demon. But even as a few days old child, he killed such a huge demon. It's not that Krishna had to perform some yoga and press his nose and become God. He's always God at any point. And God always exists. So either you're God now, there's no question you can become God. Either you're God now or no question. So Mahaprabhu completely smashed all their philosophy. But they said, but anyway, we can see that you are Sakshat Brajandanandan Shamsundar. Just by seeing you, everyone is put into ecstasy and everyone begins to chant the holy name. And Mahaprabhu raised his arms in the air and everyone began to chant the holy name. Everyone began to chant the holy name. In this way, Mahaprabhu showed that everyone is seeing Krishna where they're seeing. They're seeing a boatman, fisherman catching fish and thinking that's Krishna. And they're seeing Mahaprabhu, who's Sakshat Brajandanandan Shamsundar, and thinking he's a sannyasi. So in this way, Balabhadra was chastised. The next day, Mahaprabhu was sitting by the Jamuna. And he's remembering how at Akrur Akrur saw Krishna and Balaram within the water. Then he saw Lord Vishnu and Antashesha in the water. And the Brishbasis, they had seen Goloka Dham there. Because after that pastime, after Nanda Baba was taken by the servants of Varuna, all the Brishbasis, when they heard about how Varuna had honored Nanda Baba so much and offered so much respect to him, they began to wonder, who is this little boy? And on the way home from Nandagat, they stopped at Akrura Tirth. And there Krishna raised them up to the Brahmajyoti. And all the Brishbasis, they were frightened. Where's our Lala? Where's our Lala? We can't see anything. We can't hear anything. We don't smell anything. Where's our Lala? Then he took them up to Vaikunt. And they saw in Vaikunt, they can see, they can smell. Lord Vishnu is there. They were so amazed. But they were saying, where's our Lala? Where's our Lala? Even seeing Lord Vishnu, they weren't satisfied. Then Krishna took them all the way up to Goloka. And they said, this looks just like our home. And they said, and there's Lala. And they took Lala on their laps. So Krishna indicated to the cowherd people, that they were on the topmost level of spiritual realization. So Mahaprabhu was thinking about all these pastimes. Suddenly he ran and jumped in the Jamuna. Rajput Krishnadas began to shout and began to shout. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya came running. He grabbed Mahaprabhu and dragged him out of the water. Then he went to a secluded place and told Rajput that I think it's better that we get Mahaprabhu out of Vrindavan because now he's getting too emotional. It's described that in Puri, just the name of Vrindavan put Mahaprabhu in ecstasy. On the way to Vrindavan, he became 100 times more ecstatic. When he came to Mathura, he became 1,000 times more ecstatic. And when he wandered through the forest of Vrindavan, he became 100 times more, 100,000 times more ecstatic. And every day people are coming and making a big ruckus and everybody wants me to accept their invitation only and not others. It's becoming too much for me. And he's become too emotional. And besides, Krishnadas said, if we go by the bank of the Jamuna now, Ganga, excuse me, we'll get to Prayag at the time of Magh Mela, and we can take our bath. So you should reveal your heart to Mahaprabhu. So Balabhadra, he began to, next morning he told Mahaprabhu that it's too much, I'm not getting any peace, that there's too much trouble, this thing is going on. If we go now, we can take bath in Magh Mela. And Mahaprabhu said, you have brought me here to Vrindavan. I am eternally indebted to you. I cannot refuse any of your requests. Although I have no desire to leave Vrindavan, just to satisfy your heart, we will go. In this way, Mahaprabhu completed his trip through Vrindavan, and they headed off. They first came to Sorokshetra. They say this is where the tusk, comes from Sur. Sur, of course, means pig. So this is where Lord Braha stuck they say this is where he stuck his tusk in the earth to lift it out of the Garbhodak ocean, the Sorokshetra. And then he went on to Prayag, to Magh Mela. So we have a few more minutes. Now Mahaprabhu has left Vrindavan, so we'll give a few minutes for anybody to ask questions if they like, and I can try to answer your questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear Dhina Bandu Prabhuji. So nicely explaining, taking us from the Govardhan to Kusma Sarovar, Pavana Sarovar, Akrurakat, Militala, Dashadya Dithatela. So nice, so wonderful that we are all there actually. You took us from here to there. So nice,
Yes.
so nicely, and also the combined with the pastimes and the Krishna and the Gaura. I think it's you explained that it's not different, Militala, that example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted become Krishna and Krishna become Gaura. So beautiful, so ecstatic, so beautiful. Thank you so much. So, Vijay, I have one question. So when scriptures mention that we should take the bath in the Radha Kund, I mean, it's as if it's mentioned that, one should take bath so that it's the
nectar of instruction.
Of instruction is. But also we understand that we are not so qualified to take the bath in the Radha Kund. And I think many devotees just take the water. They don't actually get into the Radha Kund.
Yes.
How do we take that? Actually, the scriptures says.
Well, the first time Prabhupada brought the devotees to Radhakund, he pointed with his cane, this is Radhakund. Guru Kripa was there, he told me. The devotees jumped out of their skin. They were out of their cloth and into the water. And the only thing Prabhupada did, because everybody forgot their body, was he tried to separate the men from the women. Everyone had gotten out of bodily consciousness, so he didn't want to make the bad impression on the people of Radhakund. With his cane, he was separating the ladies go this side and the men go that side. Later, because we're Westerners, as soon as water is there, this Ponce de Leon, he went the wrong way looking for the fountain of youth. It's in Vrindavan. Because as soon as you jump in any kund, all the devotees become like little children. So Radhakund is such a sacred place. We would just jump and splash and horse around and do all kinds of cannonballs and things like that into Radhakund. We become little children. So Prabhupada told us not to take bath. But in the Lilamrita, at the very end, when they wanted to do Govardhan, Prabhupada wanted to do Govardhan Prikrama, then finally somehow or other, Tamal et al., they convinced him that he wouldn't survive, it wouldn't be a good idea. Then they said, we'll go on Prikrama. And they said, we'll see Kusam Sarovar, we'll see Manasi Ganga, we'll see Govindakund, we'll see Radhakund. And Prabhupada said, you all go take bath on my behalf. So that's the last order, final order. This is my version of the final order. You can take Ritwik bath in Radhakund on the order on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. But you should do it very reverently. Some people are so fanatic, they crawl into without touching their feet, they crawl into the kund head first. But if you feel uncomfortable, we're not qualified to chant the holy name either. What do? We have to just keep chanting to become qualified. So we take bath to become qualified. But if your spiritual master tells you not, but Prabhupada, the final order was, you go take bath on my behalf. It's there in the Veda base. Any other questions?
Yeah. Devotees, please ask the questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad.
Hare Krishna.
All Guru Cheshla Prabhupada. Thank you so much for sharing so much nectar from Vrindavan. Prabhuji, is there any recount? This is Devaki Nandan Das. Prabhuji.
All right. Okay. Now I can recognize you. Okay.
Is there any recount of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visiting Nandagaon, Barsana, in that area also, or no?
Yeah, and I told you after Kamyavan, he came to Nandishwar.
Okay.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't mention Barsana,
Okay.
but it does specifically mention he came to Nandishwar and he saw Nanda and Yasoda and Tribhanga Sundar Gwal in between. I just described that I posed for that picture in the Great Marathon of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So he went up on the hill of Nandeshwar.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, then from all gurus, Prabhupada, all gurus to you. Prabhu, I have one just to the just if you can explain the detail. I heard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Mathura, at which ghat he shows the Kali Leela. So all Brajvasi attracted and somebody saw him as like a Krishna who dancing on the top of the Kali.
No, people were going to Kaliyagat and seeing a fisherman and thinking that the fisherman was Krishna dancing on, fisherman was Krishna, the torch was the jewels, and the boat was Kaliya. So Mahaprabhu was laughing because they were seeing Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself. Where they were seeing Krishna, that's why he was laughing. And that's why he chastised Balabhadra, you fool, why do you want to go there? You stay here, you'll understand everything tomorrow. So the next day, those gentlemen came, and then they explained that this old fisherman is fishing, and foolish people are thinking it's Krishna. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You can read the pastime in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's even more elaborately described there.
Hare Krishna, Bandu Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Oh, Madhupati.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful class of taking us around Raj on Mahaprabhu's trail. So the Goswamis which Mahaprabhu sent was after he went to Vrindavan, right?
Yes.
Okay. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. Yeah.
First he sent Lokanath and Bhugarva.
Oh, okay.
They started the work, and then Sanatan and Rupa and everyone came and completed the work. But Mahaprabhu himself started. He discovered Radhakund and Shamakund that we just heard from Chaitanya Charitamrita. But the Goswamis he sent to discover all the other places and develop Vrindavan.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for maintaining this temple so nicely there.
Please come.
I wish.
Yeah, after all these things goes down, please come. It was wonderfully hearing Braj Katha when you came last time. Are there any other questions?
One more question, Roji, if you. There was a question earlier that why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't stay longer in Vrindavan, rather chose to stay in Jagannath Puri. Is there any?
Well, like I said, his ecstasy went 100 times. So it was too much for the devotees to handle. Therefore, he stayed in Puri in separation. Because he was in the mood of separation. So there he was becoming, back in Vrindavan, he was becoming more in the mood of union. Because he was actually in Vrindavan.
The feeling of separation is the highest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, feeling of separation is the highest, but that fosters. Because if all there was separation for the end of time, then what does he use? It makes that union more relishable. We miss something, just like if somebody a poor man becomes very wealthy and somehow he loses all his wealth and he cries day and night, missing his wealth. So increases our longing. But our goal is to unite with Radha and Krishna and serve them.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I'm planning to go to Vrindavan, and after listening to your story, I'm more excited now. In May, I'm planning to take my mother to Vrindavan, but I have like, what are the how it should be like? I want to. Can you give any suggestions like how?
Yeah, our mood of going to Vrindavan shouldn't be sightseeing. Our mood should be service.
Service.
Just like I know one lady, she comes every year from Toronto. She's from Mauritius. And she brings little boxes of saffron. And in every Radha Krishna temple, not every, but those special places to her, she donates a little box of saffron. You should come in the mood. In Vrindavan, we have a Goshala. You can serve the cows. You see Radha Shyam Sundar and Krishna Balaram and Gauri Nitai, nicely taken care of. You can do some service in that way. You can feed the devotees. We should come with a mood of service, to do service there and to hear Krishna's wonderful pastimes.
Yes.
Amritananda Prabhu has a question. Please go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance, all Krishna
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you very much for the pastimes. I have a question. You said that Radharani, when she saw Krishna, he had become golden color. And she went into ecstasy, and later on she realized that this is Krishna. I'm trying to understand this vis-a-vis Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishna wants to understand Radharani's mood. That's why he comes as Mahaprabhu and he has that golden form. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anything and everything that reminds him of Krishna puts him into ecstasy because he's Radharani. I mean, in Radharani's form. So how is it that Radharani, for Radharani, it's the other, like anything and everything about Krishna puts her into ecstasy. So how did Radharani, seeing her own complexion, get into that mood?
I don't know. No one's ever asked a question like this. Anyway, she was just astounded that why I'm seeing this golden personality and feeling the same ecstatic love for him as I do for Krishna.
Okay. And Prabhuji, did this pastime happen near Pili Pokhran, where Krishna becomes golden color Mahaprabhu?
That's another time where he hints at this coming incarnation, Pili Pokhar pastime. Radharani, Mother Yasoda washes Radharani's hands with turmeric, which means now she's engaged to Krishna. So she tries to hide it by washing it in Pili Pokhar. And that yellow turmeric came in the water, not only the turmeric, but her bhav also. And Krishna came by, so I never saw yellow kund before. And he went down to try to find out what is this kund. And he went in the water and he became completely overwhelmed. And he began to feel this was the hint. These are hints of Mahaprabhu's appearance.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
One other point, Prabhuji, is as you mentioned, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered Radha Kund and so many other, and our Goswamis discovered so many places of Krishna Leela. But when we go to Braj, especially devotees who are not in ISKCON, we don't see so much presence and of Goswamis. There are small temples, but the credit that's due to the Goswamis and Mahaprabhus of establishing Vrindavan in its original form. What can be done? How that will manifest one day, that when people come to Braj, they feel presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Goswamis, their contributions, and the due credit is given to them.
That's our duty. That's why Prabhupada established Krishna Balaram Mandir. Because he wanted to show that Gaur Nitai and Krishna Balaram are the same. This is true, because most of this is why Prabhupada always complains about the Babajis. They're just sitting in imagining themselves to be gopis and mandiris and all this. But nobody, the Brishvasis themselves don't understand. I remember one time the mayor of Vrindavan, he was telling me, yes, Mahaprabhu was a great devotee. Even the Brishvasis, they're asleep, just imagining themselves to be liberated. But Prabhupada gave us this duty to establish Mahaprabhu. And now the 7 major temples of Vrindavan are all Gaudiya temples. And some of them are, those who are very strict are becoming quite famous. Just like Radharaman and Radha Shyam Sundar. Anyway, it's our duty to waken the world to Mahaprabhu's mercy. That is the legacy that Prabhupada has given to us. That's why, although my specialty is Krishna Lila, I always mention Gauranga. Anyway, that's our duty.
Thank you so much.
And Krishna Balaram Mandir is on everybody's list. They don't come to Vrindavan without seeing Krishna Balaram Mandir. And they love the kirtan. I know one, 15, 16-year-old bunch of girls were there, some house program we did in Moradabad. They said, we go to Prem Mandir, but there's nothing going on there. We come to Krishna Balaram, your ISKCON Mandir, and kirtan is going on. We can dance, we can chant. The devotees talk to us. People love Krishna Balaram Mandir. Prabhupada and the Brishvasis. One time, Banwari Lal Pathak, he was one of the leaders of the Brahmin community in Vrindavan. Now he is no more. And I saw him many times at functions that didn't have anything to do with ISKCON. He never failed to mention Prabhupada's name in putting Vrindavan on the map. But he came one time and he was sitting in the office, because in the old days, we used to rent out Fogal Ashram, which was under him, for the devotees to stay. Now there's so many places to everybody makes their own arrangement. But those days we had to make the arrangement. So he was sitting in the office and waiting to see the president. And he said to me, we Brishvasis are very proud of your Prabhupada. I said, yes, why is that? He said, because ISKCON has outlived Prabhupada. We have seen so many people come. And as long as they were there, their ashram ministers were coming, people were coming. As soon as they're gone, nobody looks twice at that ashram. But Prabhupada has left us from our vision. But we come here to ISKCON, kirtan is going on, artik is going on, the place is clean. So we're very proud of Prabhupada. ISKCON outlived Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So I think with that, because my voice is failing and it's getting late here, we'll end this session. We again thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to serve all of you, and hope to come either personally or by Zoom again. We'll come visit you.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Panchakalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha patitanam
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Namo Namaha. Grace
Hari
Dinabandu ji ki
Jai. Bandu Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much, Bandu Prabhu, for this wonderful.
Thank you, Madhupati.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe.
Everybody can unmute and please Haribol to Prabhuji and show yours to Prabhuji.
Bless
Everybody get unmute and show your video. You can pay
Hare Krishna.
dandavats to Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat, Radhe Radhe.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Jai
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Jai Cham.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Radhe Shyam.
Radhe.
Radhe
Radhe Radhe. Jai.